Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the Josh and Artemis Show. Tonight, we are going to basically dissect the interview that Christopher Rufo did on his channel on X with Dr. Eithan Haim. He is a whistleblower formerly employed at the Texas Children's Hospital in Texas, of course, America. And he's basically whistleblown that they are still secretly performing sex changes on children. And so he was brave enough to do this interview because he's already been threatened by the Biden administration that they are going to, what's it called? They're going to prosecute. So
prosecute him, yeah.
So he may as well come forward and tell his story and basically just blow the whole thing down.
Yeah, we watched this last night, and it was very good interview. Christopher did a great job with this. We will link the full show into the description for you guys. We're not going to play the whole thing because we want you to go check out the whole thing yourself, but we'll play some of it. And it's very eye-opening. I mean, we've discussed on this show loads of times now about this whole conversation, this gender ideology, and we always speculate, why is this going on? It doesn't make any sense because, we all know that, a man cannot become a woman. We all know that a child cannot be born in the wrong body.
Yeah.
And we always speculate, why is this being pushed? Why is this being pushed in the media? Why are we seeing this huge rise of children who claim to be born in the wrong body? And I think what's interesting with the interview was it really paints a picture as to what's really going on here. And there's strong ties to the pharmaceutical industry, I guess. And there's a clear correlation between this ideology and money.
Mm-hmm.
And Dr. Haim does a great job in kind of explaining that. So we're looking forward to dissecting this today and giving you our thoughts as we go along, as usual.
For sure.
So yeah, before we do all that, if you guys are new to the channel and you like the stuff we do, we'd appreciate if you subscribe to the channel and and share the show and like it as well, of course.
For sure. It's very important to like it out, like and share it out. So if you are watching on X and watching the replay, please make sure to retweet and give us a like. It does help spread awareness to the topics we are talking about. If you do want to support the channel that much further, you could become a YouTube or Patreon member. You can also donate on buymeacoffee.com. The links are in the description of this video, as well as on our homepage on X and YouTube. Yeah, it does mean a lot to us if you do support the show. We want to thank our YouTube and Patreon members who already do, longtime members, and we do appreciate the support. And yeah, we go live daily at 8 p.m. Eastern, and we bring you what's going on in the world, and we kind of dissect and talk about it. And so we do appreciate when people leave comments and watch the replays, because it just kind of grows that conversation. And I think conversations are important to move things forward. So yeah, we really appreciate it.
Absolutely. So let's share our screen then, and then we'll get into this for you. So like I was saying before, we're not going to play all of this because we do want you guys to go and check out the interview. We did link it. We did actually quote tweet this today and posted our show and linked it in. So we'd really appreciate if you all watch the whole thing, because it's incredibly disturbing, in my opinion, and, shows you what actually goes on with this conversation in some ways. And, it's a lot darker than many people realize, for sure. So we'll play this, and before we do, I'll just read this out first of all. So a whistleblower at Texas Children's Hospital exposed the hospital's secret child sex change program. The Biden administration threatened to prosecute him. Now Dr. Eithan Haim has decided to reveal his identity so he can speak the truth about transgender medicine. So let's play it.
Grateful and proud to be joined by Dr. Eithan Haim, a general surgeon who completed his residency at Texas Children's. And so let's just begin. Tell us who you are. tell us a bit about your background and tell us how you got here as the whistleblower behind this explosive story.
Yeah, well, my name is Eithan Haim, and even though it's spelled Ethan, it's pronounced Eitan. But I grew up in Central Florida. I have a great family, still really close with them, and really great upbringing. My dad is a doctor, and I saw how much his profession meant to him, and how much he cared for his patients, and how his patients cared that he was taking care of them. So I always wanted that for myself. So that's the reason I went into medicine. So I went to undergraduate and then medical school in Florida, and then I started my general surgery training at Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, Texas. And for me, this was a huge deal because I really come from a prestigious background, and Baylor College of Medicine, the surgery program there is one of the best in the country. We train at some of the best hospitals, Ben Taub, which is one of the best trauma hospitals, St. Luke's, which is amazing as well, and then Texas Children's, which is the biggest children's hospital in the world, where you do some of the best surgeries, especially on some of the sickest children who need it the most. So during my time in residency, I met my wife, Andrea. We got married. She's a great lawyer. She's an assistant U.S. attorney in Dallas. So right now, I just finished my residency in June and started my general surgery practice in a small town outside of Dallas. And it's been great so far.
Great. And so help us paint a picture of what you saw, because you're excited to go to Baylor. You're excited to train with these great surgeons. But then at some point, you started seeing your colleagues doing some of these, so-called gender-affirming care procedures. Take me back to that initial inkling of seeing something and having this intuition that something wrong was happening.
Yeah, I think it really goes back to early 2022, because during that time that was the first time you had these major academic medical centers like Massachusetts General and Vanderbilt caught up in this huge controversy about their pediatric transgender programs. And once the details were revealed to the public, it was like the first time that people saw these bubbly young doctors in videos talking about gender-affirming mastectomies on kids, which is shocking. And then in another video, you saw these same people bragging about how much money they were making. And I think it really started to wake people up to what was happening. So a little bit after that, in March of 2022, the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, had issued an opinion stating that, quote unquote, this gender-affirming care could be investigated as child abuse. So in response to that, Texas Children's Hospital, the largest children's hospital in the world, had issued a statement publicly, unequivocally stating they were going to shut down their transgender program. And for me, this was a huge relief. I thought that maybe the tides were turning. But it was very soon after that I found out this was categorically untrue. It was only 3 days after they had released that statement that they had implanted a puberty blocking device into an 11-year-old girl with gender dysphoria. And this wasn't just one.
So, I mean, straight away, this kind of shows that they're ignoring policy. They're ignoring the law to push this ideology. Yeah. It's very concerning to me because, he obviously worked at Texas Children's, but how many other places is this going on? I mean, I would love it if more people decided to come forward and talk about it.
I think more medical professionals do need to. And I understand that it might be a risk of your job, but if you are banding together and perhaps starting some kind of organization on your own to say, no, we are not willing to do this to children anymore, then eventually, change will need to happen, because you'll have all the top doctors, let's say in the USA, saying, no, not anymore. We're not going to do this to children. And they will have to listen. But I mean, to have these doctors go behind the policy's back, basically, and still carry on with these procedures that we do know mutilate and sterilize children for life. And children are not equipped to make these decisions. And that just shows how wrong it is and how much of a money making scheme it is. Like, we have talked about this. I don't know if it was on the show or just behind the scenes, but we have said, the more we watched kind of James Klug with Billboard Chris and kind of understanding how this would be like if somebody, a child went through this as a child, they would be in and out of hospitals for the rest of their lives. So when you think about that, and every country has different kind of healthcare systems, but you would be paying quite a bit of money to the healthcare system. So really, they just look at you like dollar bills. And I've already seen that behind the scenes with cancer. They don't really want you to get better. Like, they make a lot of money off of certain illnesses because you have to take a lot of medicine sorry, a lot of medicine throughout the years until you're better, or if you get better. So it's like, this is kind of like this new realization to these organizations that, hey, we can actually make a lot of money for a long time, guaranteed. If we're doing this to children, they will be in and out of hospitals for the rest of their lives. So, and not only in hospitals, but on medication, checkups, if they have infections or complications, like the list goes on. So to these corporations, like, they're just looking at these like little cash cows, and that's just disgusting and vile that we would treat children that way just for money. But we've always said follow the money, and so this does make a lot of sense, even though it is obviously very disturbing.
No, I completely agree.
Yeah,
For sure. Let's play it.
Off case over the next couple of months, this only accelerated. And I knew this to be true because I knew the people who were doing the procedures. I was doing surgery at the hospital, and people would tell me about how they were implanting these puberty blocking devices into 11, 12, 13-year-old kids. They told me about how these kids had all these psychiatric issues that were going unmanaged and just being attributed to this one thing. And 7 months after they released that statement, the head of the transgender program, which according to the public did not exist, was given the opportunity to speak at the hospital's most prestigious lecture series. It's called Grand Rounds. And in it, he talked about how he was running this active transgender clinic, seeing patients who were very young, and he talked about this algorithmic approach to how he was managing these people.
So this doctor, right, was at this conference openly talking about this program when it's not even legal.
Yeah.
And he's openly at this conference promoting it and talking about the benefits, the benefits in quotation marks there. It's criminal.
I know
what's going on here. It's literally illegal, right?
Yeah. Well,
It's literally illegal.
Like, I also didn't really understand that there was devices that you could also, well, I was going to say install in children, but I mean, you may as well say install because you're treating them like just a piece of property.
That's exactly it. They're treating these children like they're just nothing, like they're just part of this conveyor belt of the medical industry.
Yeah.
But just cash cows, like you said before.
Yeah.
It's scary, honestly.
It is, and also just really heartbreaking that this is the way we would treat the future generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People, with the social transition, puberty blockers for adolescent kids, hormones, and then surgery. And you almost can't believe that they would make this statement publicly, and then within the hospital, it's such a high priority, but according to the public, they don't even know what's happening. And it was even more peculiar when I realized that the program was even listed on the website, right? And that's important because even the departments of the hospital that treat these ultra rare diseases have a section on the website so that people can go and schedule appointments and see the doctors. But the transgender clinic didn't have an appointment, didn't have a page on their website. So it's obvious to anyone paying attention that the reason they were doing this, the reason they were hiding this program was because they knew it was controversial. they knew that the people of Texas wouldn't approve of it. And especially once you know the details of what was happening, right, in the clinics, like what's actually happening, that every kid who walks into that clinic is being told that they have to adopt this identity that's based off hatred of their true self. And if they or their family express even the slightest bit of hesitation, they're going to be threatened with their own suicide. And if these kids do go down that path, they're going to be turned into chronic medical patients. They're going to be permanently tied to the boundaries of a hospital in order to obtain these drugs or manage complications from surgery. And they're risking their ability to participate in one of the most meaningful human endeavors, which is like the ability to have a family and children. And instead of telling these kids that they're perfect the way they are, that growing up is hard and they can grow up to be something amazing, they're telling them to adopt this false identity that is based off their own self-hatred. And they're doing it for their own self-righteousness. And once I knew that was happening, it was something that I knew I had to do something about, because if people knew I had the ability to make a change or speak up about it, and they knew I stayed silent, then I could never forgive myself, and I don't think my future generations would too.
And tell me a bit about your colleagues.
What he said there was chilling to me.
I know.
When he said, they're basically told to adopt this new identity, which is based on your own self-hatred.
Yeah.
And that you're permanently tied to the medical industry.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about.
I know.
It really is. That's literally what this whole movement is about, in my opinion.
Well, yeah,
it really is, and it's created this perfect storm of all of these, the whole medical industry, schools, governments, workplaces, social media, all compounded into one thing, promoting this ideology, and it's just infected society.
Yeah.
And it's literally the perfect storm.
Yeah, it's like a virus that's completely spread.
It's literally the perfect storm. And it's chilling to me how we've got to this point where clearly there's literally zero proof that someone can be born in the wrong body.
Yeah.
There's no evidence of that. And it's literally impossible to change your DNA.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so disturbing to me how this is on such a large scale. And there's hospitals like this who, said that they were shutting down this program, and then secretly they're doing it in the background.
Mm-hmm.
And, you've got doctors there at this massive conference actively promoting what they're doing.
I know.
And they don't give a shit. They're just literally just openly saying it like it's this new way of doing things for the medical industry. And it's stunning how this is even going on.
Like you said,
know what I mean? Stunning.
Well, you were spot on. It's very chilling.
Yeah.
It is. And it is the perfect storm between the healthcare system, the government, the schools, all the money that they'll be making. And it's almost like the schools are like prepping them to be able to go to the hospitals. And then that's where it kind of begins.
Yeah.
And of course, we also have some parents who are also bought into this ideology and want to be part of this bandwagon. So some are also pushing it onto children.
For
like
sure,
it's not
the parents have bought into it through this push in the media, though. That's
for sure, and the social media.
Yeah.
So it's like the social media is filtering into the parents, but it's like it's not always the parents. That's why it's like it's not really like a one size fits all reason, but you'll have a mix of between social media to the parents to the children and teachers to the children, and those teachers who are influencing these children are also buying it into from social media, and maybe some psychological issues that they never took care of themselves from, like from their childhood, like if they were abused or have any other mental health disorders, or if they're on the spectrum, like things that, you know, they need support for that they never got. And, you know, social media can be very toxic, especially TikToxic, as we all know. So, you know, it is like, it's like this virus that is kind of like spread. And then you can just kind of envision like a tree with like all the roots, and all the roots are leading back into the top. And
the top is the
medical industry, who are going to be making this money, and in turn will make the government a lot of money. And that'll be just a bonus for them. And so that's why we're also seeing it with, you know, like how we just saw in the UK with the police officers, how, you know, we're supposed to just accept that a trans person, aka a man, is supposed to be allowed to strip search a woman, which is not anything that any woman would want to agree to. And if not, then you have a hate crime, and then you're into the system. So I mean, they're really spreading this in every single aspect of the country, or the countries. So they're trying to hit every spot. So basically, you have no way out of this, which is criminal and also very disturbing.
It is disturbing. And like we've just talked about there, you know, it's openly allowed to happen, and there's no evidence that any of this is real, because, you know, you don't even need to be a doctor to know that this isn't real. You just need to know your own eyes and, you know, your own facts, that, you know,
own biology, like basics, like it's chromosomes.
It's just insane to me how the medical industry has been taken over by this ideology. It's insane. Let's play.
These are people who are highly educated, they're highly intelligent, they have credentials from the best medical schools in the world, including Harvard Medical School, one of your colleagues, and yet they're fanatically committed to this practice of medicine that, for me as a layman, just learning about this, looking at some of the medical literature, seems kind of preposterously undersupported. And in fact, many other countries that our kind of left liberal friends typically appeal to on social programs and other policies are starting to back away from. But describe the mentality of the doctor who is, you know, cutting the arm open of an 11-year-old girl, inserting a puberty blocking device. Why is this person doing that specifically in your experience?
You know, I think to answer that question, you have to understand the environment in academic medical centers and how that changed over the past couple of years. Because if you understand that, then I think you can answer that question. And in order to understand it, you have to understand what happened with COVID, because the changes that occurred are what allowed the transgender ideology to proliferate, and what allowed doctors to be able to do this to children on a large scale. And I believe it can be simplified to really two important things. First was this prioritization of ideology over evidence. And then second was the censorship of anyone who questioned that ideology with the presentation of evidence. And when I say ideology, the specific thing I'm talking about is this belief that truth is subjective, that it's independent of objective reality. So something is true because they say it's true, not because they observe it in the world around them.
We see that all the time when someone says, "This is my truth," right?
Really irks me when I hear that.
Is complete rubbish, because there isn't your truth. There's how you feel about something, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the truth. You know, there's a fundamental truth what everybody has to realize and accept. And if you don't accept the fundamental truth, you're not living in reality. You're just not. And it's honestly, I don't even blame the kids. I don't blame the teenagers who have been infected with this, because it's been pushed in such a massive scale that they're just so impressionable. Of course, they're going to buy into this.
Well, yeah, and kids ultimately always just want to fit in.
Yeah. And
especially ones who've been bullied.
Yeah. And like you just said there, we're living in a world where, it's an ideology over a fundamental truth these days. And like you just said, the connections with COVID, we've talked about this so many times. How, COVID was basically the Kickstarter for a lot of this woke ideology, which we're seeing with a lot of different things, and especially with the gender conversation, it's just completely taken over.
Yeah.
And no one can stop it. No one can stop it. I mean, he brought up, this is like a prime example of, a program openly being stopped, but they're going to carry on doing it behind the scenes anyway.
Yeah.
And they'll openly talk about it, regardless of it being illegal.
Yeah. So basically, just mocking the fact that it's supposed to be non-existent. It's like, we're going to do it anyway. No one's going to stop us because there's still people who want to get this done, and we still want to push it, and we still want to make money.
Yeah.
But we'll pretend it's like that quote from Elon Musk. People who look good on the outside and do evil. Wait, what is it? Who
people who look good but are actually doing evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's literally
That's
it.
the quote.
And but yeah.
So they changed the policy to make it seem like they look good, but they're still doing evil behind the scenes and are allowed to. And not only that, but Biden administration is threatening to prosecute for whistleblowing it. Meanwhile, the real people who should be getting into trouble for this is Texas Children's and whatever other hospital is operating under like a secret program for child sex change.
It sounds so creepy. A secret child sex change program.
I know.
It sounds incredible. It sounds something out of a horror movie.
I know.
Like it really does. It sounds like a horror movie.
Or something you'd find on True Crimes.
Yeah.
But which, I mean, it is kind of true crimes.
This is literally a true crime story on a massive scale.
Yeah.
It's like
disturbing.
It's incredibly chilling. Just press play, mother.
And this is concerning when you see it in a college classroom, but it's much more concerning when it's a driving force behind medical recommendations. And this is what we saw during COVID. The safety and effectiveness of the interventions they had recommended were not based off reliable, good quality data, or even basic logical reasoning. It was safe and effective because they said it was safe and effective. And when you have medical recommendations that are completely divorced from reality, you can guarantee they're not going to be only ineffective, but also likely very harmful. And that's exactly what we saw. And there's no better example than this than the high priest of COVID himself, Anthony Fauci, the self-anointed embodiment of the science. He's someone who I wouldn't let take care of my goldfish, but somehow he became America's top doctor. And the only reason this was able to happen is because you had the censorship of anyone who questioned that ideology, which is a second big change. And it wasn't only the withdrawal of these opinions.
Like the correlations he's bringing up here are brilliant.
I know.
Absolutely brilliant, because he's absolutely spot on. He's absolutely spot on with the censorship thing.
Yeah.
And we're seeing that all the time with this conversation. And like you just said there, with COVID especially, I mean, the amount of people who were censored just for trying to find out a different route to help people effectively, giving people like, different ways to help themselves, different ways to treat themselves. And it was all cancelled and shut down. And I can remember Joe Rogan got like a lot of shit during that time because he promoted some drug. I can't remember which one it was. But then they purposely edited his face. Can you remember this? They purposely made his face look sick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember that.
Yeah. And this is what the mainstream media do. And it's so manipulative.
Yeah.
And it's how can you trust these people? How can you trust them?
And you're supposed to be able to trust medical professionals. Like, you think that they're the ones who take care of you when you need it the most.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, you know, it's like when you're seeing the wizard behind the curtain and it's not what you think it is. It's like these people are the ones doing a lot of harm. And for what? Money? Like, it is crazy, like how people's morals and values and ethics will go out the window for the right price.
Yeah, I mean, we've always said this, but as long as you have massive companies listed on the stock exchange, what benefit from wars and sickness, none of these things are going to go away.
Yeah.
They'll probably just get worse. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Because, you know, when people have a lot of money, they always want more money and they always want more power. And they'll find
nothing's enough.
Nothing's enough, and they'll find any way possible to make more money. You know, it's scary.
Right, but it was the demonization of anyone who expressed that opinion, who is challenging this ideology. And no place was this more prevalent and more aggressive, and it occurred with a greater frequency than at academic medical centers. So when you consider these two changes as the driving forces behind COVID, you understand that the transgender ideology is simply a continuation of that. And what they're doing is just taking it to a different level, because they're claiming to be something to be true, which is in the most obvious way untrue. And because you don't have voices within the medical community who are willing to stand up and challenge it, you have these things go unopposed, and you have these things proliferate. And before you know it, it becomes just a part of the medical standard. When you really take a close look at it, it should have never been in the first place. Because people can talk about all the data they want, but at the end of the day, you don't need a randomized controlled trial, you know, to tell you not to drive your truck into a pothole, right? When you look at the underlying idea behind what they're doing, it should have never been done in the first place.
And what though the actual doctors, surgeons, kind of medical administrators, they're, in my view, not simply mistaken. Not simply, this is a kind of exciting, innovative form of medicine. We're going to take it to the next level. We were deceived by the data, and we've decided to now change tack. They have an ideological commitment, maybe even something deeper. What do they get out of this? That's something that is always on the forefront of my mind.
I think what they get out of it is meaning. And I think meaning is so important because it's one of those things that every human strives towards, right? We want to find meaning in our lives because we want our lives to have meant something. But as we've seen in the past few years, people want that without the work required to do anything meaningful. They want to be righteous without the difficulty of acting in a moral and virtuous way. They want to be able to speak up and speak out for people who are, oppressed, but they don't want to put themselves in a position where they really have to challenge something powerful. So I think that when you have this abandonment of these traditional Western moral values, it's going to be filled by a void that can be taken up by anything. And in this case, people are looking for something that will fill that void, and the transgender ideology is what has filled it. But the most unfortunate thing is that the consequences of that is the future of these kids, because the future that we had growing up, right? Like all those great memories we had, for your first girlfriend, those things that are fundamental to a normal upbringing are going to be manipulated to such a degree that you don't even know what the consequences are in the future.
Yeah. And then talk about some of these kids, not specifically.
Yeah, I mean, what they're doing here is literally taking someone's life away.
Yeah.
That's effectively what they're doing to these kids.
Limiting their choices in life.
Yeah.
Basically going to always be ill in some way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
And be controlled as well.
Yeah. And be, like he said, constantly tied to the medical industry.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
You know,
and like
forking out thousands of dollars just to stay alive effectively and live a normal life.
Yeah, which will never be normal.
Or try and
yeah.
live some sort of like, you know, just some sort of a normal life, you know, because as we've seen with a lot of these people who, you know, are detransitioning. I mean, I was on a Reddit thread the other day, and someone posted it on X saying that 2 years ago, this thread had 19,000 detransitioners. In 2 years, it's gone up to 52,000.
Mm-hmm.
So can you imagine, right? Because
10 years from now.
Yeah, 10 years from now, there is going to be...
I
can't even fathom the problems that this is going to cause.
Yeah.
Honestly, I can't even imagine it, because it's going to be on a scale like something we've never seen before, in my opinion.
100%.
Because
which is devastating.
Because what these people are doing to kids is literally a crime, and it's child abuse.
It is child abuse,
and there's no other way to describe it.
An abuse of power, really.
And there's no other way to describe it. And I'm telling you now, parents, you need to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
You need to wake up, and you need to start, you know, reassuring your kids that, you know, it's okay to be who you are. It's okay to not go along with a stereotype if you're a boy or a girl. You know, just let your kids be kids and stop pushing this ideology onto them, because it's not right. It's not.
Yeah. That should be illegal, as if you do try to do it.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be opposite. Like, you know, you need to tell your kids that going through these awkward phases, uncomfortable phases, and also good phases are all part of just growing up. And you will figure out who you are meant to be as you get older, and that they're perfect the way they are. Like, it's so like heartbreaking that the amount of children that just feel like they're wrong in some way, shape, or form, or a mistake. And, you know, there's no one there reassuring them that they weren't. Yeah. Like, instead, they're just being affirmed, like, yeah, and all you need to do is change your gender. When, like, instead you could easily just support them and reassure them that they are beautiful and perfect the way they are, and there's no right or wrong way to be a boy or a girl, and that they should be able to play with anything they want. They're children. Like, stop pushing certain narratives onto kids. Like, just let them grow up and they'll figure it out, like everybody else has as adults. Mm-hmm. Or at least most people have as adults.
I mean, we've seen so many examples recently. I mean, we talked about this on the show a few days ago of the Cincinnati Children's Hospital, how, you know, one kind of inkling that a boy might be a girl, you know, if they, you know, try on a dress, for example, they're instantly sent to this place and put into gender affirming care, or whatever the term is. And it's just scary how parents have just completely bought into this.
Yeah.
When there's no evidence whatsoever. There's literally none. And this is what Dr. Haim was saying. The whole, you know, the medical industry has just been taken over by this without any proof or evidence. And these people are supposed to be doctors.
Yeah.
It's just insane to me how that statement alone, you know,
terrifying.
They're literally mutilating kids and stopping a kid's puberty based on no evidence whatsoever. They're basically taking a healthy child and making them unhealthy for no reason at all.
Yeah,
that's effectively
other than to be a cash cow.
Yeah,
It's not because, ooh, we're being kind and we're supporting what the child believes in, because like it's so obvious that it's for money and that they know that they'll be basically providing money in one way, shape, or form for the rest of their lives. And, even as they get older, if they want to detransition, whatever that looks like, they'll still be going through therapy and probably medicine and maybe if surgeries are possible. I don't think so, but like either way, they know that they've got them in one way, shape, or form. And we have seen cases where people who try to detransition do have a lot of complications and health issues, and that their organs are like not working well, things like that. So serious issues that are causing them trouble for like years, and have had so many surgeries, etc. And it's like, why would we want to put our children through this, other than to go along with the stereotype and the bandwagon that this is all good and great? Meanwhile, evidence is showing it's not, and people are still turning a blind eye. And it's like, you need to just like collectively shake people and say, wake up, like wake up to what's going on. Like, this is so wrong, and we should not be pushing this on our children.
It's a whole system. This is what we're saying. It's a whole system now. It's the media, it's the parents, it's the schools, it's the hospitals, it's social media, it's the medical industry.
It's organizations like UN appointing a trans woman to represent women. Dylan Mulvaney on Forbes top 30 under 30 to watch for.
Yep.
Like, there's reasons why they're putting up trans people into these. And then other cover, I just realized that other, I think it was Glamour magazine or something, putting a trans man on there saying, I am living proof, because they were pregnant. It's like, no, you're only living proof that you still have ovaries and a vagina. And so you're a woman who's pregnant, who's just dressed like a man.
And you've got governments like Justin Trudeau, who's putting tampons in male bathrooms. And you've got celebrities like Charlize Theron, who, adopted children from Africa, and now they're transgender.
Meanwhile, this doesn't even go on in Africa.
Like, it's honestly insane.
Yeah.
What is like, it's
the more you see it, the more you can't unsee it.
It's a whole industry. It really is. It's like a new industry for these pharmaceutical giants to make money from. It's scary, honestly. And do you know what? I mean, it's not going to slow down, because they'll want to keep making money. So they're just going to double down and reinforce this even more. And like Dr. Haim was saying there, the censorship, I mean, we've already seen countless times the amount of people who have been cancelled, lost their jobs, in some cases put in jail. We talked about yesterday on the show the SNP's proposal, to potentially throw parents in jail for up to 7 years if they don't affirm a child's gender, chosen gender. These are the policies which people are trying to implement into countries.
Yeah,
it's terrifying, honestly.
Yeah, it's like a virus happening in all of the West.
And who suffers at the end of the day?
The children.
The children. And I'll tell you something now. They're not victims of being born in the wrong body. They're victims of being born in the wrong society. That's how I see it. They're born in the wrong society.
For sure.
Because if they were born 20 years ago, they probably wouldn't be going through all this stuff. Honestly, they'd probably be like us, looking at it from the outside, seeing how stupid it all is.
I know.
I
know. And now when they grow up and they decide what kind of life they want to lead, if they want to start a family or not, they won't have the choice. They'll have to adopt or nothing. So what are those children who did transition, you've just taken such a big choice for them to make as an adult. And children don't know if they want to have children. Like, don't tell me like, yes, they've always known from a young age. Like, kids change their mind all the time, and adults do as well.
For sure.
Like I've said this before, but I've had friends who in their 20s have said, no way, I don't want to have children. Their 30s come along and they want to get married and have kids. So, I mean, you can change your mind, and people in their 40s change their mind, and 50s and whatever. Like, it depends. But at the end of the day, what my point is that we've all had the option. These children who go through this process will not. It'll just be an automatic no for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the point is that that's even just the bare minimum of freedom of choice and, you know, your own body, and it's being taken away and made by like the decision of these adults around the child, but also leaving it up to like a 10-year-old who won't understand the complications that they're making for their future selves because they're 10.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're supposed to decide, you know, what they want for their birthday, or who they want to invite to their parties, or, you know, what book they want to read next, or what TV shows they like. They're not supposed to make big decisions like, should I get a sex change? Do I want to have children? Should what's my sexual preference when I haven't even gone through puberty yet? Like, it's like, why are we putting these huge decisions onto children who, you know, generations before have never made these kinds of decisions before? Like, you know, we bring it up. It's like, you know, they don't choose if they can smoke or drink. Or
again, it's all by design. You know, it's what we're saying, that they're trying to confuse these kids from such an early age, make them anxious, make them question who they are, to indoctrinate them into this insane criminal. It's basically a criminal organization. That's effectively what this is on a massive scale. Mm-hmm. It's a criminal organization, and they're indoctrinating kids from an early age to thinking that they're born in the wrong body, which is incredibly creepy and very just wrong, full stop.
Wrong.
And then they're encouraging schools, they're encouraging parents to, you know, get them into a gender clinic because they're born in the wrong body, and then they're going to start them on meds. They're going to potentially cut off their organs and stuff like that. It's honestly insane.
Mm-hmm.
And people need to wake up, you know, because if not enough people wake up and this gets out of control, which it kind of already is, but we can stop it if more people begin to stand up and use their voice and say that this is wrong, because it just is wrong. It just is wrong, full stop.
Well, who's to say also if they're inserting puberty blocker devices into the children, what else is in the device? Like, is it also a tracking mechanism or something else? Like,
I don't think it's a tracking thing.
I don't know.
Because
I don't know. I'm just threw that out there.
Yeah, I don't think it's that.
I wouldn't even be surprised anymore. Like, if it wasn't anything even more sinister, maybe not tracking, but something. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
Well, I think it's sinister enough that they're inserting a device into someone's body.
It's like it's like their arm.
Yeah, it's sinister enough.
Surgical procedure.
Yeah, it's sinister enough that they're doing that.
I know, but
do you know what I mean? That's
how far would they go?
That's sinister.
Who knows?
In itself, you know.
Yeah, 1,000,000%.
Because as we know, kids who go through puberty, who are growing up in this insane time, you know, the vast majority, the overwhelming vast majority of kids who, you know, question who they are, question if they're a boy or a girl when they're a teenager, they grow out of it.
Yeah.
They literally grow out of it. So why are we preventing that? Why is the medical industry preventing that? Money.
Yeah.
It's literally as simple as that.
Yeah.
And it's scary. Right, let's play for a bit more, then we'll end the show.
But in general, as a class, I mean, in your opinion, in your experience and observation, they're coming in obviously struggling. These are kids that have psychological issues, that have interpersonal issues, sexual identity issues. Talk about kind of what are some common themes of the kids that are coming in, presenting with these symptoms, and then tell me how this either achieves or fails to achieve the stated objectives of making them whole, making them integrated, making them functional.
I think the important thing when you consider any treatment for kids, any intervention that's going to permanently alter their physiology, is there's a principle of limited understanding for kids. And it makes sense because kids don't have the life experiences to understand the consequences of their actions, which is why you try to put the right food on the table for dinner or make sure they hang out with the right friends. So when they're going through hard times, when they're struggling with this identity crisis, when they have depression, anxiety, all these issues, it's so important that the adults in their lives put them in the right position to be successful in the future, to where they can live their lives and be happy. So you have this situation where you have these confused adolescent children who are going into these clinics, who are simply looking for answers. And an answer is being provided for them. Only if they adopt this new identity, if they take these medications and follow them down that path. So all that anger, all that angst, all that anxiety is now driven into this one identity. It's given as an answer to it. So they adopt it, right? It makes them feel good. It's like the illusion of temporary effectiveness, because you're giving them this new community to be a part of.
Yeah.
But it's not based off something that's true, right? And that's the most important thing. And because it's not based off something that's true, it can't be sustained for the future.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a point where these kids wake up one day, right? After taking these medications for years, after undergoing surgeries, after adopting a new name, and
No, just.
I thought his sentence was going to be finished quicker than that.
Just what he said there, but it's it's, if it's not something that's true, it's not going to be sustainable. That's exactly it. And
yeah,
what are these kids going to be like in 10, 20 years when they're just sat there thinking, what the hell have I done to myself?
Yeah. Good to see you, Briar.
Good to see you, Briar. It's not only life experience they're missing, developmentally they're changing as well. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And we talked about this at the start of the show, Brian, and it's nice to see you here. Briar, sorry. That's the thing. They're stopping a fundamental process which is vital for someone's development.
Yeah.
All for money, effectively. This is literally all for money. And it's criminal.
Well, it is
there's no other way to describe it to me. It's criminal.
Preventing puberty will affect the way that their muscles grow, the way that their brain develops.
Mm-hmm.
And, as we've already seen in studies that, biological boys will grow up to have micro penises as men, won't be able to have an orgasm, aka sterilizing them. So there's so many things that are impacted by stopping puberty,
mm-hmm.
which is the most natural biological process your body will go through.
Which we've all gone through for thousands of years.
Yeah, since the beginning of time.
Yeah, without any issues whatsoever.
Yeah.
Of course, that process of puberty, it's supposed to be uncomfortable and awkward. It's that's what it's about, because your body and your mind is changing so much. It's not going to be a good process. Everybody has an awkward stage when they go through puberty. It's just a natural thing to happen. But this is the thing, they're suppressing this, and
mm-hmm.
kids have been indoctrinated with this whole mindset now that they don't want to feel uncomfortable. And as soon as they try and voice this uncomfortable concern to their parents, it's instantly, let's get you down to a gender clinic.
Which is also kind of just the society we live in today. We want to basically bubble wrap our children from every little ache and pain and, uncomfortable moment
mm-hmm.
until adulthood. We've seen so many videos online where young adults today who are trying to find jobs and stuff are complaining about how hard it is, or how, they went to school and they're not getting large wages right away. And it's you got to start from the bottom and work your way up. That's what it is in the job world, in your career. But they complain because they want it all straight away, and like they can't like handle it. And so it kind of just shows how, weak they are really, and mentally weak. Like it's not how we grew up, where we just get on with it. We just work hard to get what we want. Kids today kind of have that give me it right now. They're in the social media stage, and like those ages, they're using like technology in schools a lot more than we did even growing up. Like it was there, but
we were
in the middle.
Yeah, we were in the, we kind of seen it from both periods, I guess.
Yeah. So it's like, this is like the impact of having everything so readily available as well. It's like, so, even just having like cell phones, smartphones, and having everything at your fingertips, like, it's just that mentality. Well, I want it right now, so I don't want to work hard. I just want it now. And so it's very telling, like when you're a young child who's about to go through puberty, doesn't really want to go through it. Parents today are like, oh, let me like cushion you from being even a little bit uncomfortable or working through those feelings. Let's stop it and protect you from that. But I mean, when you think back at how you grew up and how much stronger it made you mentally and physically, and also just how important it is to go through puberty, no matter how much it sucks. Like these are what builds your character as you grow up. And so, to take that away from a child, again, is just criminal. And also just, it's heartbreaking because children, that is like, that's how you become who you are. Like, you go through the aches and the pains, and, you go through the hard times as you get older. And that just builds on your character and, makes you stronger and, makes you fight for the things you want and makes you driven and goal oriented and just, motivated to do things. And so you're taking away so much from a child by just kind of pandering to something that they're gonna grow out of. It's normal for kids to have like ups and downs, it's like there's little humans. I think we forget that because they are so small and whatever. But when they have feelings, they're big feelings. And, think of how many bad days you have. It's like, it's the same for a kid. And, their world is so much smaller than ours. So small things can impact them greatly. And so, you kind of have to remember that, like, you just need to take care of their emotions and explain things to them, and that it's okay to get angry or sad, or, it's okay if you don't always get what you want either. And just like teach them to be good people and to be strong and to be sure of themselves, and they will sort it out. Like they'll figure things out like everybody else has.
Absolutely. Right. Let's read this comment, then we'll end the show because coming up to the hour now. It is criminal. I have 2 kids. Changes of all sorts happen all the time, and they are absolutely necessary. I'm all for constant communication with them. It's not the only medicine, but it's the best, of course.
We agree.
And we have 2 girls here, Briar, and that's why we've been debating this behind the scenes for a while. We've felt strongly that this is wrong for a while, but it's only the last few weeks really that we've decided to kind of talk about it on the show, because I think more people do need to voice their concerns with this, especially here. I mean, we're based just outside Toronto, and we've just learned, I think it was 2 days ago now, that they've opened a gender clinic in
Ottawa, which is the capital of Canada.
Yeah, which isn't too far away from here. So you can kind of see that the tentacles are reaching all over the place. And to me, it's very concerning to me.
That's why I think generally we talk about the West as a whole, because we're seeing it in America, we're seeing it in Canada, we're seeing it in the UK, and it's spreading like a virus, basically. And it is like cult-like behavior as they get older. And you're seeing like trans adults and some of the things that they post online, like it's very cult-like behavior, cult mentality. And it's honestly sad because these people could be very nice people or could not be. But the fact is that they need more support for their mental health, and they're not getting it. Like, it's very obvious that they're not getting it. And, you know, they don't have anybody in their lives to tell them that they should get some help, and not in like a rude way, but just, you know, that it would be helpful for them. And, you know, instead that they just get all the validation, all the praise. Oh, you're so brave, you're so strong for coming out or whatever. But it's like, people, like, we need to stop sugarcoating things sometimes. Like, we need to just state a fact.
People need to stop being afraid of telling the truth. That's effectively what this is all about.
Yeah.
You know, there's a fundamental truth what people should be able to accept, and we need
100%.
to start, you know, normalizing saying the fundamental truth. And it's not hateful, it's not hurtful, it's not transphobic to say what the fundamental truth is. And, you know,
yeah, a trans woman is not a real woman.
It's, you know, it's as simple as
that.
And there shouldn't be anything wrong with saying that, but apparently there is today. But anyway, we'll leave it there, guys. We've just hit the hour mark.
Yeah, but we do recommend everybody watch the rest of this. So we will link, after the show's finished, we'll link it in the comment section on X as well for everybody to check out, and watch the full thing for yourself.
We'll link it on YouTube as well.
And on YouTube, of course, yeah. But definitely make sure you guys give it a watch. It is a really good interview and very eye-opening, and especially if people aren't really involved in the topic a lot, but maybe who also have children, or, you know, who are just very aware of like what's going on, or not aware of what's going on in hospitals, and, you know, the ethics of medical professionals today.
It's eye-opening. It really is. Glad you both are tackling this. Lots of parents are taking a stand. The research speaks for itself. Best articulated by Jordan Peterson. Yeah.
Take
care.
For sure.
And you too, mate.
Yeah, it's good to see you. Hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah. Don't be a stranger. We go live every day, 8 p.m. Eastern.
For sure.
And we talk about a range of things, but we've focused on this the last week or so because you know it's definitely important to highlight. So we've tried to highlight this a lot more. But we do talk about, you know, a range of stuff as well. But appreciate the comments, and hopefully we'll see you back here soon.
Yeah, 100%.
Brilliant. But yeah, thanks so much, guys. A great show. Like we were saying, we'll link all of this for you to check out because it is worth a watch for sure. Just before we go, if you're new to the channel and you like the content we produce, give us a sub. It does really help the channel.
For sure. And a follow on X, of course. And if you do want to support that show and help keep us growing and going, you can become a YouTube or Patreon member. You can also donate on buymeacoffee.com. Our links are in the description and, of course, in our bio on X and on YouTube. As we just mentioned, we go live every day at 8 p.m. We talk about what is going on in the news, mostly in the West, but we cover all over the world, depending what's going on. But yeah, we really advocate for these topics that we speak about because it is important. If you don't have the conversations, nothing will change. So bring that awareness. If you're watching the replay, guys, make sure to leave a comment. We do like to read the comments and your thoughts, and sharing your thoughts and opinions. And share the show out, guys.
Absolutely.
Spread the awareness. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night, and we hope everybody has a good rest of the night.
Absolutely. Take it easy.
Take care.